Good evening. Welcome to the September 3rd regular meeting of your Board of Commissioners. Thank you for everyone being here tonight. We've got some great things happening this evening. And to start off, we're going to have an invocation led by Christina Taylor. And I haven't had a chance to speak with you. There you are. Just make your way forward. I'll ask everyone to stand if you're able. And following that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by a couple of young folks here in attendance tonight. Please stand if you're able. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. Let us pray. Oh, gracious and holy Father, this evening we lift up this meeting to you. We thank you for our leaders and their decisions. Lord, help them have wisdom in their decisions. Guide them as they have the discussions and weigh through what's best for our county and our people. Lord, we celebrate tonight life of service, and we thank you that we get to have those recognitions tonight, that we get to have celebrations in the midst of business. Lord, what a wonderful thing for our community and county to have such servants among us. Lord, we thank you for the gift of this evening, the gift to gather and to be able to do work. And, Lord, just to be led by you in such times as this and in decision-making and leading to the future. We pray all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Please continue standing. I'll ask Lucas and Sawyer Lemons to make their way up here, along with Scott Crescenzo. Now, Lucas is 11 years old, and his brother Sawyer is 8 years old. They're in the 6th grade and 3rd grade, respectively, and Scott is 18 months old. So he's going to be helping them tonight. Gentlemen, if you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'd appreciate it. Just face this way. Face the flag. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, guys. Great job. Thank you for being here tonight. These are also grandchildren of Keith Duncan, who we'll hear about a little bit later. And the next item on our agenda, item 4, is recognition. Lance Metzler.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, Board of Commissioners. And I'll have Trey come down here shortly. I'm going to read this first, though. During its 117th annual conference, August the 8th through the 10th, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners presented Rockingham County with an Excellent Innovation Award recognizing the county's efforts to provide needed dental services to the children in Rockingham County schools through mobile dental expansion, which is administered by the Rockingham County Division of Public Health. This program provides school-based dental services, including cleanings, sealants, fillings, and extractions to meet the oral health needs of Rockingham County's school children. The program officially started in September 2023 and provided dental care for over 174 children during its inaugural year. Since the mobile dental unit started seeing patients last September, its staff has provided more than 900 treatment services and 600 prevention. Over 75% of those children who have received services through this program had some type of tooth decay prior to their visit to the mobile dental unit. In a related effort to provide quality health care countywide, the Division of Public Health recently unveiled a new mobile medical unit to reduce barriers that may prevent children and adults from accessing preventive and routine services. The Civic Federal Credit Union Excellence in Innovation Awards recognize successful county programs that demonstrate innovative solutions and resource savings for counties. This is one of 13 Excellent Innovation Awards given this year by the NCACC to county governments in North Carolina. The Rockingham County Division of Public Health provides school-based dental services utilizing a 2-chair clinic situated on a 38-foot trailer and outfitted with digital radiography, a sterilization center, wheelchair ramp, and electronic health record system. This program was made possible by a $400,000 community grant from the Duke Endowment to provide dental services to uninsured and low-income children in the Rockingham County school system. I would like to formally thank Trey Wright for taking the initiative and vision for this program and securing the funding through Duke Endowment Fund. And Board, if you would come forward and to present this award that was presented at the NCACC conference. Mr. Wright.
Congratulations. It says that 2024 Excellence in Innovation Awards Program, the mobile dental expansion. This is from Civic Federal Credit Union.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trey. Would you like to say anything?
Lance said it all. We're just very excited to provide these services.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, good, thank you.
Our next recognition, we're going to let Commissioner Richardson present this. Commissioner.
Well, thank you very much for the honor of being able to present the Order of the Longleaf Pine to Keith Duncan. As you know, Keith Duncan used to be a commissioner, and actually Keith and I came back on the board at the same time in 2011. He had had a gap in service. I guess he had done so much work, he was worn out, and he had to take a couple years off, but he came back. And during my first years as a commissioner, Keith was my mentor. So if you'd come up, Keith, I'm going to take a little license here. What does a mentor do? He helps you get things done and learn the ropes. And one of the things that Keith helped with, I'm going to get on the other side just to get symmetrical. You got to be front and center here. Well, Keith and I had an idea that the county needed curbside pickup of recycling. And as you know, on our Board of Commissioners, there are 5 folks, and you have to have a 3-2 vote to do such things. And we didn't have it. There was a 3-2 vote, but it was against. And I said, Keith, we really need to do this. I'd done some footwork, and we've got this opportunity to do it at a very reasonable cost. Cost was free except for buying the tubs for that. And I said, it's not going to pass. And he said, have no worries. I've enlisted the aid of the blue-haired ladies. And I said, explain. He said, I think the senior civic groups that are led by elderly ladies are going to go for this, and they will put so much pressure on the rest of the board that we will get a 5-0 vote, and he was right. So I thought that was pretty clever how you handled that. Keith, you know how many of these get put out, and I can't think of anybody more deserving because you've been a community servant, not only here at the county level, but you come from a family of servants there at the state level, and you've been active in your church and civic organizations and the hospital. And I would just like to present this to you, and I'm going to abbreviate it slightly. But from the governor of the state of North Carolina, who is expressing special confidence in your integrity, your word, and your service to the community, the Order of the Longleaf Pine.
Keith, smile, bro. There you go. There we go. I'll get the family too. Charlie can't see you. There you go. All right, family.
We're going to have to shift a little. We're going to have to shift a little bit.
Some get on this side if you can, so it's. Back into it. All right, I can't get all you guys in there. All right, there you go. All right, keep smiling. I'm the PI tonight. He's tired. All right. Good.
Well, I would like to say that it's a privilege and honor to receive this award by the state of North Carolina. And it means a lot to me for each and every one of you to be here tonight. We're all friends. I've known most of you for a long time, and I know some traveled a long ways to come tonight and have to travel back home. So please drive careful going back to Raleigh, Kernersville, Greensboro. For me, this has been a long journey. It's been 30 years, but it seems like it only started yesterday. When Mark asked me where I'd like for this to be presented, I said, well, for me, the commissioner's room would be the most appropriate place because I've spent a large part of my life in this room, representing the citizens of Rockingham County. And I know people work hard for their money, and paying taxes is painful. I believe that myself. So it needs to be spent wisely, and I worked with some great individuals over the years. And, if you look on the back wall, there's a lot of pictures back there. That's people I served with, and a lot of them are not here anymore. And it's all about working together. It's not just one person. Everybody deserves credit for what they do, especially in public service, because it's hard work. It takes a lot of time away from your family, as my daughters probably know, and my wife. And it's nothing that anybody forced me to do. I did it because I wanted to. I wanted to be able to give back to the community. And, I was raised sort of in the same environment, my father being a commissioner, state rep, and in the Senate for years. So we were taught in our household, to be proud of the government and try to be responsible and do the right thing and if you make a mistake, own up to it and don't try to pass the blame. That's sort of the code we live by, which I thought was a good policy to live by. And I'm honored my family's here. And my son-in-laws, they came up and bought my two daughters and their children. I appreciate that. My mother-in-law's here. I appreciate her coming because I know it wasn't easy. I appreciate you being here. And my brother-in-laws, I just need to thank some people, if it's okay. State Representative Pirtle here, a good friend, Judge Ramey, Jason Ramey, who I have a great deal of respect for. To me, he's a role model. Great young man. Hope I don't miss anybody. Tommy Flint, my neighbor, former commissioner. Glad he came. There's a few people church has always been an important part of my life. My pastor's here tonight, Lawrence Alata. Another friend of mine, longtime friend, Reverend Ralph Clayton. I think everybody knows Ralph. He's been a great friend, and he's always gave me worthy advice, and he knows how to pick your spirits up, and I really appreciate my friendship with Ralph. Also, in closing up, I'd just like to say that when I became a commissioner in 1995, I knew what to expect when I came here, but I didn't know the other things that came along with it. And each commissioner is expected to serve at other capacities, and I was chosen to serve on the DSS, Social Services, as a representative. And that led into the Mental Health Agency, which led to serving on state boards, mental health, which I've been a part of for 30 years. And starting in January, I was appointed by the legislature to go on the North Carolina Commission for Mental Health in Raleigh. So I'm looking forward to that. But the reason I really did it, in the house I grew up in, my father had strong feelings for the people who are less fortunate, because he came from that background. He knew how it was. And he taught us to always try to help your fellow man. And I found out real quick, there's a lot of people who have nobody to fight for. That's what I try to do, because there's a lot of people with disabilities that have no one. There's a lot of people that struggle with emotions, including each one of us here today, and some people just don't know how to get over that gap, and that's what the state agency's designed to do, to try to hopefully save a person's life. And substance abuse, which we all know is one of the biggest problems we have in our society, which is not getting any better. That's what we do on those type boards, and all the commissioners serve on these different boards at different capacities. So that's really what I've taken away from this the most. And another reason, and this is going to be it, but this is really important. The way I grew up on the Total Farm in the Shiloh community, which is a great community. And I'll speak for my cousins I grew up with. We were all taught to work together, get the job done. We grew up on a tobacco farm. My grandfather was one of the hardest working men I've ever known, and my two aunts are here, and my uncle, Gray Tuttle, and his wife, and my aunt, Helen Tuttle, who's a lot of people knew D.L. Tuttle. He was my uncle. Some of the hardest working people I ever knew. So I had some good teachers growing up, and I've tried to carry that through life, and I feel like it's paid off. And I don't know if I'm finished tonight with serving, but I'm going to continue at Raleigh, representing Rockingham County. And this is a good place to live. It's a good place to be. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, Keith, you are not through serving. We appreciate everything you continue to do for the community. With that, we're going to move ahead to the next item on the list, item 7, recognition. Lance?
Okay. Resolution honoring the dedicated public service of William Leonard W.L. Pryor Jr. Whereas W.L. Pryor Jr., who lived in Eden, gave generously of his time and public service to the citizens of Rockingham County. And whereas W.L. Pryor attended Ruffin High School and then the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, graduated with a B.S. in Business Administration, and returned to Rockingham County and worked in numerous ventures, owned Pryor Grain Company, Premier Finance, Caswell Finance, and a convenience store, all located in Ruffin. And whereas W.L. Pryor Jr. served as Rockingham County Commissioner in 1994 through 1998, was Vice Chairman in 1996 and Chairman of the Board in 1997, worked diligently to improve many areas of county government, including fiscal responsibility, transportation planning, economic development, and funding hangar construction improvements at the airport. And whereas W.L. Pryor also was a member of the Rockingham County College Board of Trustees, was named Director of the Rockingham County Community College Foundation and member of the Rockingham County Habitat of Humanity Board, Rockingham County Board of Health, was a key member of the Citizens for Economic Development Incorporated, formerly known as the Committee of 100, serving as President and Vice President, interim President of the Partnership for Economic and Tourism Development, guiding the organization through a critical transitional period, was a former member of the Eden Jaycees, Chamber of Commerce, Human Relations Committee, and was a member of Reedsville, Eden, and Western Rockingham Chamber of Commerce. And whereas W.L. Pryor cared for and served faithfully the citizens, providing invaluable contributions to Rockingham County and its development, living a life of service. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners that the memory of William Leonard W.L. Pryor is hereby honored for his years of leadership and selfless public service to the citizens of his beloved Rockingham County. This, the September 3rd, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. His family is here tonight. I'll ask you guys to come forward. I'll let you introduce your family members tonight. Thank you, Linda.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name's Leonard Pryor. I'm William Leonard Pryor III. To my left is my oldest son, Jacob, my sister, Sarah, my youngest son, William, and my wife, Kim. who's been here in this building and worked at getting ready to retire from the community college. First of all, Keith Duncan, thank you so much. I mean, what an honor to be here to see you receive that award. That's pretty incredible. I mean, and my dad, you were really special to him and a really good friend, and I really appreciate that a lot. I sure do. So thank you for your service. Wow, my dad just had a long list of things that he was involved in here in the county. We talked politics for years. You know, my grandfather, William Leonard Pryor Sr., was on the school board, I think, for 23 years. And then Dad moved right into public service, and I tried my stint with the school board, which is a story for another day. These gentlemen up here, we really appreciate all that you do. My dad and my grandfather were lifelong Democrats. I've been a Democrat, registered as Republican after Clinton won, and now I'm an independent. And, our country, where it's going, I try to tell my kids, let's take the politics out of it. This is about humanity. You may not like this and you may not like that. And I've got a blue man theory that if you turn us all blue today, within a couple of weeks, we're going to be turning on each other for one reason or another. So it comes to service and love and community, and I'm proud to be a resident of Rockingham County and really appreciate all that you guys do for us. Thank you.
You guys can scoot together. Use this one first, and then I'll get yours. That's easier. Okay, I'm gonna get yours now. All right, thank you.
Thank you, folks. W.L. was a good friend. We appreciate him. We're tickled to be able to honor him tonight. Again, thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Congratulations. All right. Looks like his dad. Mm-hmm. All right.
Also had Bruce Noe here. City Council in Eden. And then Wes is also a former commissioner. Well, I mean, N-O-O-E. Since they were commissioners, Wes, Tommy Flynn.
Good to see you back out and about. Man, you look great.
See us for a few minutes.
Smile and bright eyes.
I think we'll just
Said he was going to work on, moving everybody to the lobby, so you use your best judgment.
Well, maybe if you declare the recess as the room clears, we can reconvene at 7 or whatever you want.
Gentlemen, I'm going to declare recess for 4 minutes. We'll reconvene at 7 o'clock. Teacher, we're back in session, folks.
I don't know if that was
We're back
broken.
in session. Our next item is going to be the approval of our agenda. Guys, let's back up for just a second. On item 6, we do need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the resolution honoring W.L. Pryor.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, thank you. With that, thank you for the correction, gentlemen. All right, with that, that takes us to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda? Commissioner Barrow?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move old business to number 9B after public comment.
Very good, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Very good. That'll get you folks who have been here several times on this rezoning out here a little bit early. So we'll go ahead and make a call on that. With that, we have an approved agenda. Tonight, we also operate from a consent agenda. Now, consent agenda items are non-controversial. However, if anyone has questions about these items, you can contact Lance Metzler, our county manager. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda or are there changes?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we change consent agenda item number 8.1, please, I2. Consideration of funding for the CAB completing access to broadband project with NCDIT. The county's commitment of 35% of that, which is $1,789,171.65, is accessible by utilizing funds from the existing broadband expansion project. This is not a request for new funding, just an allocation of our current broadband expansion project. I might add that that is part of our original desire to make 98% of Rockingham County accessible for broadband, high-speed internet. We've completed most of that, and now they are expanding that to include some other, I believe it's 500, 600, 700 addresses that we did not get on the first round. In addition to that, I would like to change item number 8J. I would like to add that to consent agenda, acceptance of bonds from Andy McGehee, the finance director. And with that, I believe that's all the corrections.
Mr. Chair, if I could expand, I had a question from a commissioner reference to item I, and I just wanted to expand on it if you would. Indulge me for a second.
That's fine.
It's in reference to the Division of Forestry. They requested a new forestry truck this year, but they didn't have the required information in time because they were going through a transition with staff. The division has met with our staff, and this particular truck exceeds their required replacement schedule with either 10 years or 100,000 miles on it. This truck is one of their oldest in the state of North Carolina with 13 years and 141,000 miles on it. They asked y'all to consider allowing them to place the order now due to unexpected lead times for the truck itself. I think the chassis and all, that they have to order that. Much like you guys did with the ambulance, the division will have to put the upfit of the truck after delivery, which will take about 6 months. So this should be ready to use in late 2025. We basically split the operations with them, 60% state, 40% the county. Staff would request that you all approve the purchase of this truck, which will allow more than likely not come until next fiscal year. This is different than other requests that we've had in the past. The state will not move forward unless they have the financial commitment from the county. So that's part of that rationale.
So just for clarification, this is an item that they need our commitment to order for next year's receipts.
You're making the financial commitment this year. The odds of it being here before June is slim and none. Actually, we're looking towards August, September, but I can't guarantee anything. It's more than likely won't be here this fiscal year.
Gentlemen, are we okay to leave that on the consent?
Yes, sir.
Very good. With that, do we have a second for the consent agenda with the modifications that Commissioner Powell added? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, we have an approved consent agenda. Next item that we have listed is public comment. But prior to the public comment, we've asked Lance to put together a short presentation. And with everyone's property tax bills coming out over the last couple of weeks, there have been several questions posted, and we wanted Lance to have the opportunity to kind of highlight some of those changes. Mr. Manager?
I appreciate you asking me to be here tonight. I know that you all have had a series of questions, particularly when the bill had just recently come out in late August in regards to some of the tax bills that were out there. As we all know, they went through a revaluation. Those were sent out April 2nd, so individuals had a chance to see what their values have come to, but when they get the bill, it's actually a little different story when they see their bill. So I just kind of wanted to hit some of the highlights. If I could work this. Again, this is just a reminder that this isn't the entire budget. This is just a brief explanation of the ad valorem, which we call local tax, but we in government call it ad valorem taxes. And I'll show you some of the associated major expenditures that we have with those. The ad valorem consists of real property, personal property, motor vehicles, and public utilities. We left the public utilities out because these are paid for by the utility companies, be it electrical, natural gas, fiber, phone, et cetera, and not the resident's responsibility, even though it might be passed on through a bill of some sort. As you remember, the county lost $1.2 million from public utilities last year due to us not having the revaluation, so we will gain that back this year. In fiscal year '24, we budgeted $52,825,769 in real, personal, and motor vehicle for ad valorem. In 2025, we budgeted $63,158,968, which is a difference of $10,333,199. The ad valorem revenue minus public utilities increased overall by 20%. Real property revenue increased by 29%, but this also, bless you, but this also includes commercial and industrial, not just residential. Personal property revenue decreased by 5%, and motor vehicles decreased by 8%. This is just a graph illustrating what I previously spoke about in the last slide. The commissioners adopted a tax rate of 58.01 cents, while revenue neutral is 51.01 cents. The value of a penny is $1,196,234, which means any change in the ad valorem penny, either increase or decrease, would equal $1,196,234. The difference between revenue neutral and the actual tax rate is a revenue of $8,373,638. The key increases in expenditures to not be able to go to revenue neutral. You've got some for the public schools. The first one's 3.25 for funding increase for public schools. An allocation to replace low wealth, 1.8 million for schools. Salary expenses, retirement increase, health insurance, et cetera. For staff, it's 4.6. The turnover roles pay study was 1.1. The replacement of hold harmless funding is 1.2, and that was the sales tax. If you recall, we were getting that for a series of years with Medicaid and sales tax. Now we no longer get that, so we're a gap of 1.2 with that. Then the state mandated increases, medical examiner, jail meals, juvenile detention, and a few other ones equate to over $350,000. As you can see, the figures that I just quoted you equate to more than what the actual rate was, but we have a lot of other factors like sales tax and some of these grants that we get and money from the state and federal government. So to discuss the whole budget, we could be here for an hour plus, but anybody can get on the website. You've got the QR code in front of you. If you're interested, you can go to www.rockingham.county.nc.gov to get the access to the full budget document. And if anybody online or here has a question about the budget, they can we'll be willing more to answer to those questions. We have pamphlets over here that we passed out during the budget process. If anybody wants a copy of the budget, they're more than willing to come up here and get that. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do we have any comments or questions, folks? Thank you, Lance. We appreciate you putting this together.
Yes, sir.
I think it's very informative, and I think it'll help folks to understand.
Yes, sir.
With that, that takes us to item number 9, public comment. We have several people who have signed up to speak, and I'll ask Lance if he's doing a lot of talking tonight.
Say
If you will, go ahead and read our guidelines and protocols for public comment tonight.
Okay, the public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners and not to staff, the audience, or media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker should clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. Each citizen shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing no more attendees' time other than 1. This would allow no more than 6 minutes. A total amount of time allotted for the public comment period is up to 30 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor in front of you. The time clock will start with 3 minutes. Unless you yield a time to 6 minutes, you will hear a beep at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you already yield your time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairperson know in advance. Speakers will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral comments. Written statements can be delivered to the County Manager's Office. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. With that, the first person signed up is Steve Mann. If you'll approach the podium, give us your name and address, sir.
Steve Mann. My address is 545 Hilton Road in Stokesdale. I'd like to yield my time to Cindy Hayworth.
Sir, with that, we'll go to Cindy Hayworth.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Hayworth. I live at 141 St. Andrews Drive, Stoneville, North Carolina. I don't know if you'll remember, but it's almost a year to the date when I came and spoke before you in reference to my service on the planning board. And it was September of 2023 when I came to actually clarify something that was said at a meeting in reference to the credentials of the planning board, that they were just regular citizens that gave a recommendation to the commissioners on land use. And at that time, I just came in front of you to explain that even though they may be regular citizens, some of them did have experience. Speaking for myself, I had over 12 years in planning and zoning and environmental review. At that time, I was just there to actually help my colleagues in reference to the pass that was given them when you came up for the vote for the casino. After that, a month later, I was removed from the board. I actually was notified by a former employee of the planning board that my name had been put on a list to be removed. And I said, but why? Let me tell you a little bit about myself and my way of serving the citizens of any county where I have been, and been on about 30 different boards and commissions.
Looks like it.
I was taught, it was kind of interesting that Mr. Duncan talked about who was a mentor to him, but I was taught that you get up, you dress up, and you show up. My mother drilled that into my head every day, and that meant you get up and you make up your bed, you show up at school and do what you're supposed to, and you get up, dress up, and show up and do what you say you're going to do. So every board that I have served on, every job that I have ever had, every commission I've served on, I've always thought that I was an extension of that board. I was an extension of that company. I was representing that board or representing that company. That's just the reputation that I have and the reputation that I want to keep going forward. So the reason that was given as to why I was removed from the planning board was that my term had expired. Well, the terms for the planning board are 3 years. And then if, I'm assuming if you've done a good job or have performed well, that you're eligible for another 3 years. So it would be a 6-year term limit. So I was there 2 years and removed, and it seemed awfully connected to me to a vote that I made at one point. So when I felt like I was representing the company or the board or the commission that I was serving on, I had to remember that, like this commission, you're elected by the citizens. So I was really serving the citizens, not the board. And that's the way it should be in every decision that's made, that you're representing the citizens of the county. So the county attorney gave the reason that my term had expired, when in fact it had not. And I actually have a list, and if Lance, you could give this, please. This is a list of 2023 planning board members, their contact information, their name, their address, their term expiration, and the township that they serve. If you will note, on line 3, you have my name, my address, and my term expires October 1st of 2024. In actuality, my term isn't even over. It's not even over until October of this year. So I just wanted to correct the record in that I don't know why I was removed from the planning board. I was there for 2 years. I missed one meeting because my husband was sick. So I do have a reputation of getting things done and a reputation of doing what I say I'm going to do. So I'm not asking for an explanation. I know we can't have a conversation, but I just wanted to set the record straight. And this is a list from your planning board. This is the record. So in actuality, you may have to explain sometime why I was removed. Thank you.
David Friddle, please. Please give us your name and address, sir.
Yes, my name is David Friddle. I reside at 8741 Fulp Road, Stokesdale, North Carolina. I'm here in favor of the rezoning. I'm connected to all the properties. Sold Mr. Daniel, that's my stepson, and Jamie, the property I purchased in 2008, in 2010. The folks that's doing the targeting, I developed that property, helped get the water put down that street to get to, because we know we got contamination over in that area from the old store building. We worked on that project as a minority operator with Baker Underground, got that extended down there for the rest of the folks in the future. And I just don't understand what's going on here, because when I came to the planning department to subdivide that, they said, do you want any restrictions here? I said, the folks buy the land, they should be able to do what they like. The first folks in the house, I think they're McCollums, I'm not sure. I had to go down there twice about the property lines with Mr. Keith Peoples. They were disputing property lines. The second house was the home place of Mr. Anderson. I went back to my real estate lady today, who I work with a lot, and asked her specifically, was it in the statement, can you run a business out of your house, when I sold them the home place? And I told them, as far as I was concerned, they could run anything. So I've sat on that road at least 3 times since this has been going on. I've watched FedEx, Amazon, UPS run in there like NASCAR, and nobody's complained. I hear complaints about the road. I think that's a DOT problem. I hear complaints about Jake brakes, but if you sit at the fair store, Mark knows where I'm talking about, Kevin does, and you can hear the trucks when they come by the old Red Birch on 220 at the split. When they hit the bottom and see the DOT sitting at Bob Yates on the bridge, you can hear them till they get all the way past 220, 158. So I don't know if they want DOT to put a sign up saying no Jake brakes on Interstate 73. But, I went down there today, I went down Foxhaven, I see another business down there. If you go read the fine print of the Department of Labor and see what constitutes a business out of your home, about 60% of them run the business out of their home now, if you get down to the fine print. But I don't know why these folks are being targeted. I mean, it's 140 acres joining them that I'm going to be on part of the inheritance of, and I can promise you that it's going to be developed, and Rockingham County is going to like the revenue off of it. And I surely hope they don't go to neighborhoods like they did this one and try to get people to sign up and find out what kind of job you do before you move in the neighborhood. Maybe what we should do is tell the developer to let's do a background check on the people when they move in, see if they had problems in the neighborhood where they lived before they came here. Because it seems like a lot of complaining going on, finger pointing at minors that should not be happening, calling them out. I mean, this is between adults, not minors. And I'd just like to see a favorable vote on this if we could see it possible, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Friddle. The next person who signed up is Julie Cox. Please give us your name and address, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Julie Cox. I'm actually, I'm on Ferris Store Road at 345, but Ashley, who I think is next there, is yielding her time to me, if that's okay.
That's fine. You are, ma'am? Okay.
Okay. So my name is Julie Cox. I'm there at 345 Ferris Store Road. I'm here tonight in opposition to this rezoning request for 225 Ferris Store Road. My family and I, we've lived there at the address since June of 2022, but we're not a stranger to the area. My husband grew up just across 220 there when it actually connected. Since living there, we've seen much residential growth. The home that we live in is one of the original homes of the neighborhood, the one that he referenced, Mr. Anderson's home. The growth that we've witnessed has consisted of 8 residential homes being constructed. There are no commercial properties on Ferris Store Road. One fact that we feel should be brought to the attention of the board is that 225 Ferris Store Road is being used as a home base not only for DTW Transport, but also D&C Trucking Incorporated. Both of these businesses are registered to Jamie Wall, listing the mailing and principal office addresses as 225 Ferris Store Road. Now, it may be claimed that these trucks are only used for leasing purposes and are not stored at Ferris Store Road, but this is simply not true. Myself, my family, other neighbors witness D&C Trucking dump trucks as well as DTW dump trucks come on a daily, hourly basis at times. A question that was asked by the board previously was why this has just become an issue when this business has been operating for many years. And the simple answer is growth, and congratulations. The owner, Jamie Wall herself, celebrated the purchase of truck number 11 on April the 8th, 2024, in a Facebook post saying, "We're just beginning." At a recent meeting to discuss proposed solutions, it was offered to put a restriction of a total of potentially 6 trucks for operations at this location. Yet they've already advertised that they've outgrown this proposed solution. This does not account for the 2 18-wheelers that are a part of their operations. They may not be parked at this location currently, but they do utilize the location on a regular basis. Another option discussed has been restricting these hours of operation. I refer to the words of the owner again in a Facebook post in February of 2024. Daniel's Sunday has been since 5:30 this morning. He never complains when he spends all day working on Sunday or comes home and spends until midnight or later working on a truck. You don't get this life working 9 to 5. And while that devotion is greatly commendable to your business, it is not reasonable business hours of operation for a residential neighborhood. There is documented activity of dump trucks coming and going as early as 3:23 a.m. and as late as 11 p.m. To me, this indicates that this type of business cannot comply with normal business hours. In regards to the impact on the neighborhood, we feel that this will be and has been substantial. The noise, the oversized trucks, the hours of operation, the impact to the road, and definitely the impact and effect on market value of the homes. Rezoning to commercial will set a precedent for potential rezoning on this exclusively residential road. The business owners themselves have been non-conforming since the beginning. In 2015, the property does not have the capability to comply with the minimum requirement of 60 foot of road frontage. The owners are operating not one, but two high-impact businesses. It should also be noted that the actions of the owners during this process has not built confidence in any proposed promises or agreements that they've made. There have been incidents and interactions where true colors have been revealed. Speeding down the road after returning from a previous meeting held here in a celebratory manner with loud aftermarket mufflers blowing their horns, employing scare tactics by contacting other residents of the neighborhood that they know own businesses but do not operate from their home. They simply drive home from work every day, telling us that we're next. The residents of the neighborhood, I feel, have made it clear that we do not feel it's reasonable to grant the commercial rezoning. 40 neighbors signed the petition in opposition. That's 25 different households. The only resolution that I can see is that the owners remain as our neighbors and conduct their successful, growing business at a different location. Expansion of any business comes at a cost, but it's money well spent when it's done without restriction. Why fight to rezone this location, which will inevitably come with restrictions, with limits on your operations, your growth, your hours, required buffers, and more? We share the opinion of a commissioner that said it's simply not reasonable to alter the zoning of the neighborhood. It's a great business, just the wrong location.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Ruben Romero, please make your way and give us your name and address, sir.
My name's Ruben Romero. I live at 323 Ferris Store Road, Stokesdale. Honestly, the situation will have a high impact on the neighborhood, only to appease, one neighbor at this point. But in effect, it's affecting, I think Julie said 25 families. I had 30 down, but it may be 25. And why aren't their options also weighted in your decision? The county paid staff objects to had advised that they objected to the rezoning, and it went on deaf ears, basically. They say they're willing to put growth caps in place, but we never get a chance to review the data. There is no follow-up that has been provided after their town hall meeting. Mr. Greco, which has been representing them, had promised that my wife that he would get information out to her and never did. So we couldn't come to a resolution because there was never any information shared. They said they were willing to put caps on what they bring down the road. They had talked about that, of, the larger trucks, maybe putting them at a different location. But it was objected to. They didn't want to do that when we went to their meeting that they had at the Stokesdale Center there. So in my opinion, Mr. Fiddle stood up here and says he doesn't know where people like us came from. Well, I'm American. I came here because of work. I've traveled the U.S. I mean, this is my home. I've been here since 2011. So, we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere, So we appreciate that, we oppose that decision of trying to rezone it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Bill Greco, please come to the podium. Give us your name and address, sir.
Bill Greco, P.O. Box 347, Oak Ridge, North Carolina. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you again for having this hearing this evening. As mentioned earlier, this is our third time coming before the board. What I would like to address is, at the close of our last public hearing in June, we were focused on two main points: consistency and reasonableness. I think we've established beyond a doubt that this request is consistent with both the comp plan, land use plan. It's in the growth corridor. So certainly I believe that's been demonstrated. Following that meeting, we did reach out not only to the mailing list from the county that typically goes out with the rezoning, but we expanded that. We included everybody who had signed on to a petition. Several of those were just multiple names out of the same household. But we did host a second public open house where we invited folks, rented a venue to have an open forum to discuss. Our second meeting was better attended than the first. We did have lots of good discussion points, and one question or concern came up repeatedly, and that was how much could this business grow, and is there a limit on the size in the future? We found that point to be reasonable and valid, and therefore we did amend our application, and we have added limitations to the number of trucks in daily operations. They may own 1,000 trucks for all I care, but we do have a limitation in the conditions that is enforceable that addresses growth, which again we felt was a reasonable point brought up by those in opposition. Further, we requested a summary analysis from DOT regarding Farrar Store Road. Their analysis included a week's worth of traffic count. And as you see before you, the end result of that report is that the road is in good condition overall, and it is also operating at a good level of service, which means there's not a traffic problem, there's not a problem with the size, and there's not a problem with the condition of the road. And that's from our division or district engineers analysis. Those traffic counts were significantly lower than what we use in the planning world in terms of average daily trips. With all that said, we do believe our efforts that we've put forth, our community outreach, we've demonstrated that we're willing to be reasonable. It's not an all or nothing approach for us. Certainly this could be an open-ended rezoning. We've got a lot of conditions on here that's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of hard effort, but it's not reasonable to believe everybody's going to agree 100% of the time. So we feel like we've done our best. We'd certainly appreciate your support in this request this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Greco. We appreciate it. And the last name on the list is Edward Pickard. Please make your way. Give us your name and address, sir.
My name is Edward Pickard. My address is 277 Elm Grove Church Road. I'm on the other side of the county over there by Southern States. That's where we are. I met Daniel on a job in 2018. We worked on 220, which is 73, and we was out there day and night. We helped build that road. And I met this young man, and I started liking this young man. I started hanging around this young man because he got the same kind of work ethic that I have. The young lady said about Facebook posts that his wife put down about a man working all the time. Man work all the time to build something. We're talking about somebody in their 30s. She's 30. Don't hurt these young people. I came here in May, spoke to the planning board, asked them for their compassion, believing that everyone have a desire to start a business. They don't run and check no zoning. Rockingham County didn't start zoning until 88. Live free, do your thing, Everybody start a farm, start their business. In 88, they started zoning, but they ain't run out there and start enforcing zoning, This young man had a dream. His stepdad helped him, and he started working, building what he needed, and building what he needed by hard work. I'm asking y'all, don't hurt this young couple. You can hurt them by denying them. I'm in favor. I come over here over and over again because I believe in this young couple. This young couple spends big money. These are not raggedy trucks. These are new trucks. If put my diesel truck I got out here next to this dump these new dump trucks, you can't tell the difference. They talk about Jake brakes. It ain't no such thing no more on the new truck. Ain't no Jake brake. They call it exhaust brakes. They quiet. What's the purpose of a Jake brake? It slows the engine down while you don't have to use your brakes. Dump trucks cost $275,000 to $300,000. $30,000 of that goes to the federal government for taxes. Then you're gonna pay another $5,000 to the state of North Carolina. Then what you get? The county sends you a bill for property taxes on that same vehicle. I'm sorry. They send you another bill for the same purchase you just purchased. And then every year you're paying up to $1,500 per vehicle. Then you gotta spend another $1,500 for your tag. Huh? It's not easy. It's not simple. It is hard. This young man and this lady works real hard. Help them tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Pickett. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, everyone who commented tonight. That is the end of the sign-ups for the public comment period. With that, the next item on our list is old business, which was originally item number 12. I'll ask Marzi to make his way up here. I'll remind folks that we have held a public hearing back in June, so there will not be additional public hearings tonight. The board will deliberate, and the board will vote on it tonight. I would like to take a personal moment and apologize to folks. 2 weeks ago, I was very sick and could not make it to the meeting, so I apologize to everyone who had to come out again for this. Mr. Marzi?
Yes, sir. In your packet tonight is an amended ordinance, if y'all are so inclined to include the conditions that Mr. Grieco was talking about as well.
Can you state that for us?
Yes, I'm getting ready to pull it up. Give me a second. It is, the additional language requested was daily trucking operations shall be limited to 6 dump trucks and 1 lowboy/heavy hauler. As far as staff's concerned, that seems to be also reasonable to add to the conditions that were already included. We see no problems with that if y'all are inclined to agree to it.
Very good. Gentlemen, do we have any questions for Marzi?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, Commissioner Powell, you go ahead. Yeah, Commissioner Barrow, go ahead.
Marzi, thank you. I just have a question. Does that have any effect on staff's recommendation?
No. Most of our recommendation deals strictly with the reasonableness and consistency to the UDO, the dimensional standards for the property, the access to the road, surrounding all abutting property being residential. Those are primary factors in that denial. In regards to like a home occupation and things like that, the reason we couldn't go that route because it was the intensity. While I believe that classification goes a long way towards helping if it is rezoned and making it more consistent and reasonable, I don't think it is enough for staff to actually change their opinion. Also barring the fact that I don't think it'd be fair to change my opinion this time after we've already given our advice to the planning board.
Thank you, Marzi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Powell?
Just a couple of questions, Marzi. I understand that this property was put into business around 2015. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I've understood.
And sometime either then or after then, they built a building, I guess, that supports their operation. Is that correct?
I don't believe so. I believe there was a pole barn that was built in 2010. I think that building was converted for their business around that time, but that hasn't been explored. I don't have any permits on file other than the 2010 permit for that building.
Okay. So would it require a permit to update that building into a garage or shop or whatever?
It depends on the work being performed. Unfortunately, we only keep records for 6 years, and that permit was issued under our old software system. So when we migrated that information, it only kept the dates and the applicant name. It didn't keep any of the information, the inspections and things like that. So I'm not sure if it had power to begin with or it had power after the fact. I'm not sure. The type of building that was built calls it a pole barn, but some people call pole barns and they still side it up. So it's uncertain as far as I can tell from the aerials and whatnot.
And so the setbacks on this pole barn, they meet the residential standards, if it's residential agriculture, is that correct?
They meet the current, and at the time it was constructed, they've changed since the time it was constructed. It was 15 feet in 2010. It's 10 feet now. I believe it's about 20 feet off the property line.
But under some commercial application, they may not, is that?
In neighborhood commercial abutting a residential zone, they'd have to have 30 feet. And, you know, any future development on this parcel, should it be rezoned, would have to meet the standards of the new zone. These would be considered legacy non-conforming structures. If anything happened to it, they'd have to bring it up to standards at the time something happened to it.
Commissioner Berger? Marzi, if you could show us the zoning map.
Yeah, I've got some here for you, if this is gonna. There we go. I made this in a rush, I apologize. If you can see the little tiny blue outline on that square property kind of centered in the map, that's the parcel we're talking about. That's Fair Store running north to south there, 220 diagonal. So right now, the green is RA, the yellow is residential protected. The orange there to the southwest is residential mixed. The purple northwest is light industrial. And that little red blotch on the other side of the, over there on 65 is, 68 is highway commercial. 65. It's 65, yeah, sorry.
And the residential protected that's there has, doesn't, well, I guess it's been residential protected for, I think last meeting that you spoke, you gave us an idea of when that was converted to.
I believe these were original, 88. Let me, I didn't know how far out you might want zoom, so I also did this one.
Okay.
So you can see the general area. This is roughly 2 miles.
Okay. So that RP on Fair Store Road is original to the zoning maps? Is that-
To my understanding, the best I could determine, yes.
Okay, and at the time, Highway 220 was a 2-lane road. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and as far as our current land use plan, you said this area, all
The
right.
big purple swath right there is our G3 high-growth corridor. It's a half-mile wide up from Guilford County all the way up. So that little square does exist in the G3 high-intensity impact area.
Okay. And I know tonight you mentioned one additional condition. Could you kind of go through all of those conditions they've their application?
Sure. The conditions that they have in the application are restricted uses and other things in the property. They include agricultural uses, automobile, truck, and trailer hauling rental, private greenhouse, nursery, plant cultivation, offices, professional, public, private, rural family occupation of a non-agricultural nature, on-premise signs, agritourism activities, commercial greenhouse, home occupation, nursery, landscaping, commercial, accessory structure, live, work
Let
unit.
me slow you down a little bit.
Sorry.
No, I believe they had asked for certain restrictions, and I was just asking for the
Okay.
list of any restrictions.
Okay, well, that is part of the restrictions. They've.
Well, you
let me-
can leave all the
Okay.
uses out
Well,
of
if
that.
I can, real quick, I'm going to condense this down. They did select uses that would be more harmonious to RA than not. So they removed a lot of the non-harmonious to RA uses in neighborhood commercial. So that being one restriction. They do have to recombine the current parcel layout and configure so they do have road frontage on Fair Store. And I've got their site plan that does that reconfiguration if you want to see it. They are requesting a reduction of the 60-foot road frontage to 50-foot, which is the required, 60 is the required, and then the daily trucking operations shall be limited to 6 dump trucks and 1 low-body heavy hauler. And like I said, right there. The way they've tried to reconfigure this has it breaking up the parcel in front and then going down to the driveway and maintaining a 50-foot frontage on Ferris Store.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell?
Mr. Marcy, if this fails the board, how long would the homeowners be given to comply with the current zoning as it stands?
We would just reinstitute the process where we're at, where we stopped in the code enforcement process as laid out by the UDO. I can't remember exactly where we were at in that part, but once we get to the fine stage, that's where we go to fines for a period of time. But I think we're still in the warning letter phase.
Now, let me ask you another thing. Supposing that the petitioners, that this fails and the petitioner drives his 18-wheeler home as his vehicle that he drove to work, would that be something that would be prohibited in that, or he would be allowed to do that, right?
He'd be allowed to do that. We have no we don't prohibit people's work vehicles being taken home with them to work that they use for work. We have, however, had other code enforcement cases where we've had to have people storing multiple commercial vehicles in residential properties going against the ordinances. So there's a difference in that. I know it's kind of splitting hairs, but the way the rules work, there is a difference in taking the vehicle I use for work home versus storing multiple work vehicles at a site.
Also, another hypothetical is if the petitioner were to drive a dump truck home that needed some repair and put it in his shop, that one vehicle being there, would that be something that would still be permissible, or would that be a violation, or?
I'd have to research.
Basis.
I'd have to research into that because there's a fine line between, I mean, if you're working on your vehicle, I guess it's fine. But commercial repairs of multiple vehicles, we enter into the body shop rules. So there's other things that come into play at that point. So I don't know. I'd have to look at it and do some research.
And then my last, maybe not a question, maybe it is a question. If this were a rezoning, potential rezoning that was occurring before a business was established, then the other homeowners would be allowed to come just as they were this time and speak, but it would be in an effort to stop the rezoning before it ever started. The only difference between what we're talking about tonight and that is that this business has already been established, so the neighbors really didn't get to have a say-so in the beginning of whether it would be there or not. They're now coming here to try to get the law enforced as was written by the county. Is that a fair assessment?
I believe so. I also believe that if this was the scenario that you played out, site conditions and screening and things like that could have been taken into account when they were developing the property, so we wouldn't have the need to shorten the 60 feet to 50 feet and things like that. A lot of the hiccups for that reasonableness would have been taken care of in the front end.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any more questions? Any more discussion? Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, first for Marzi, I've heard the number 25 mentioned for households several times tonight. I don't see 25 lots on Ferris Store Road.
Probably not on Ferris Store Road. But we do by your ordinance rules.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Well, I mean, you're talking about one property situated off Ferris Store Road, but we also mail out 1,000 feet from our parcels for all these rezonings. So we incorporate
so they're
a
within the
huge-
25. Got you. This road frontage option, it's either give a variance or they get more land, right?
Yeah, and it's not really a variance per se. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, we can add it as a condition. We're allowed to amend the dimensional standards in our conditions if we feel so inclined. So yes, we can amend the dimensional standards through the conditions, or they would have to acquire more property.
Yeah, well, these folks have been there 9 years or so. Was there any attempt to defraud the county to go around. I'm trying to see how this operation got started. If it wasn't permittable at the time, how did it get started? Did they try to mislead you or anybody on the planning board?
Not that I'm aware of. I wasn't here in 2015. So as far as I know, they either came in and someone gave them incorrect information or they didn't come in. I don't think there's any intentional defrauding, if that's what you're asking.
I've got some other questions. I don't know if you can answer them or not. I'm interested in the amount of noise caused by maintenance on these trucks. I guess the truck owner would be the expert on that. I'm trying to get an idea of how many decibels. I've heard people complain about the noise of your vehicles.
There's no noise. They're just coming up with a complaint. I mean, if there's something to be maintained, it's usually in the evening when we get in. As soon as we pull in, we address it. Occasionally, it might be late in the evening, but we're far enough off the road. They're not here, and you work on a truck.
Did you hear any engine noise complaints before you had applied for this rezoning?
No, these neighbors just moved 2 years ago, and they haven't had a problem until just February. So we haven't had a noise issue since 2015, which is almost 10 years.
Well, I was the one that talked to DOT about traffic movements. How many traffic movements, what percent of this 1,400 or so weekly movements are your vehicles? Well, you got 6 trucks or 7 plus your.
Well, I mean, you got 12 a day, 6 coming in or 6 coming back.
So every day you go once in, once out?
Yeah. Yep, it's 12 a day. That's 12 a day.
I was led to believe that a lot of your work is contract outside the state, and so your trucks are.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, like this past week, they left out on Sunday and didn't come back till Friday evening, so they didn't come in, but maybe 2 of them all week. The rest of them were gone all week.
But if all your trucks were in operation, that could be 7.
Yeah.
You could have 14 movements a day.
Right. But currently, we're keeping the road tractors at another yard to appease the neighbors, but apparently that's not good enough for them.
Just out of curiosity, and I know this is speculative, if your business continues to thrive, you've agreed not to have more vehicles there, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, I heard some conversation about Facebook or something where you mentioned 11, but.
Yeah, we have other trucks that stay on state jobs. They've been there, they're on site, they stay on site.
Yeah, I understand, but just 7 vehicles where they are now.
Yeah, well, yes, sir. We have other vehicles parked, but not, just 7 where they're at.
Well, I'm just curious, what are you going to do if your business grows?
We're not planning on getting any more. If we do, we'll keep them where we're keeping the road tractors at, which we pay lot rent for those every month.
Gotcha.
Any further questions, gentlemen?
Thank you, Mr. Wall.
No questions? It's time to call the question. Do we have a motion to approve or deny this request?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny the request.
We have a motion to deny this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, for clarification, if the deny vote loses, do we then have a motion to approve?
No, I think it's it, right?
You have to have a second on the motion or the motion dies.
I'll make a motion to approve, and I'll be glad to explain it.
So we have a substitute motion. Do we need a second?
I didn't have a second. What I would recommend is, Don made the motion to deny to start with. I'd like to be heard on mine, but I'd let him go first. We can vote on that, and then, we can certainly have other motions before the thing is officially dead, if it does die or is approved. It's, just because someone makes a motion to deny in a zoning matter doesn't mean that the thing's complete. Y'all, at some point, you got to have a motion that is approved.
That was my question.
Yeah, that's the whole, that was the error that the planning board made at one point in time in the recent past. Or not so recent past, but they only made one motion, never took a vote. So, okay.
We do have a motion has been made that we deny this request, and that motion is waiting for a second. We've had no second, and then we've had a substitute motion to approve.
Yeah, and so for me, this is not a clean case on either side. What I'm looking at is we are in the high-growth area. I'm also looking at what is in the area. Now, in the area doesn't necessarily mean just what touches that piece of property. For me, that's why I asked Marzi to give a view of kind of a little bit further back. We are just off of what is an interstate. So you heard it a little bit tonight as far as the noise, and certainly you hear the trucks. Looking at an overhead picture of the property, you do also have some screening measures that are naturally, or I say naturally in place. You can tell that there are some trees planted along what appears to be that property line. So with it being in the high-growth area, with it being, in an area that is fairly close to what is light industrial, and with the conditions that they've put on this, it's been operating for a period of time. Certainly, there's some problems with opening a business and asking for forgiveness. But I take a step back and look at what would happen if the sides had clean hands. And really, both sides have some issues as far as what they've argued in front of us. And once we establish that as a high-growth area, then I think we're going to have some of these difficult cases of rezoning. And weighing this, we get people complaining about rezoning cases all the time. We've got to weigh, whether we want to meet budget constraints through growth, which we always have people complain about, or do we want to reduce services, or do we want to ask them to pay more? They complain about each of those as well. And so with it being in that high-growth area, with it being fairly close to light industrial, and the fact that that residential protected is something that went into existence in '88. It was basically the default for that street at that point in time. For me, I made the motion to approve.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Richards, let me let Commissioner Powell speak to his proposed motion, and then we'll move to you, if that's okay.
Motion died.
All right, Commissioner Powell.
So for me, it's not an issue about these folks being in business and being successful. Congratulations for that. I'm in business myself, and I would love to have all the compassion in the world. The issue for me is that the county made the rules, okay? We set the zoning, and in this case, there's a business operating there that is illegal by our own standards. And there'll always be an opportunity to change zonings. I mean, we can always find an excuse. Well, it's in the high industrial area, or what, I can't remember the exact terminology. But that doesn't mean that we're going to raise those houses and build an industry there. We still have people there that have houses that moved in there in an RA or RP area, not expecting to have to deal with a growing business. And we have just as much obligation, I feel like, to protect the RA and the RP as we do to establish the industry and the commercial businesses and all that, the areas that we do that. We can't put more emphasis on one necessarily than we do the others. There's always areas where commercial business can exist. In this case, I believe that these folks are storing some of their equipment at another lot. They could simply do that in this particular case. But it doesn't have anything to do with their business. It has to do, this is an RA neighborhood. These folks didn't have the opportunity to come in here and attend a rezoning prior to this business going into effect. And it's always easier for us to look at something and say, well, let's rezone it so we can zone it into compliance. And we've done that before, and I voted against that one as well. So I think that if the county is going to make the zoning rules, then, we need to follow those. I think if we have rules for having rezoning cases, that needs to be followed through the planning and zoning. Planning and zoning department that we commissioned to do the work at the county is not approving this. They issued a case for denial. So that's my whole point. If we're going to make the rules, then we have to be conscious of enforcing our own rules, or we set a dangerous precedent, because what happens the next time that somebody comes in here and they're out of compliance, what's going to be the standard that we use to get them in compliance that particular time? So, folks, it has absolutely nothing to do with your growing business. It's just simply that, if this was a DWI case and we were trying it, I could have compassion. In fact, somebody didn't mean to drive drunk, but as a judge, I would have to pass the judgment according to the law. In this case, we set the rules, and we have to, I believe, we have an obligation to homeowners to protect them as well as we do business owners. Thank you.
Sir, Commissioner Richardson?
Yeah, I agree with what you're talking about, Commissioner Powell, and I am concerned about precedents. And I do strongly adhere to a policy of following the laws. But I can tell you, of all the statutes that I know, perhaps the most subject to imperfections are zoning statutes. And it is difficult to be absolute about that. And I've been involved, I've been where every one of you are here, and I'm sympathetic to every voice that I've heard, because there were great truths, some element of emotion, we understand that. But I believe that, and if I had my way, Farrah Store would still be open, and I could go in there and have an RC Cola and a moon pie. But it's not so. And because, and I know that there's some zoning cases coming up, which I'm inclined to view differently from this one, but to me, it's the human element for all of you. The noise complaints or whatever else is annoying to you about the operation. But it gets down to a person's livelihood versus some annoyance. And I think there's been some exaggeration about the noise element. I did talk to, somebody had complaints about road conditions. I did have extensive conversation with DOT about you got mud holes on the intersection of Farrah Store Road and several other things. So I think in this case, I'm inclined to support livelihood versus annoyance, and I second Mr. Berger's motion.
We have a substitute motion, and that has a second. Commissioner Powell's motion dies for lack of a second. So is there any further discussion on this issue? With that, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approval of case 24-12, say aye.
With the added conditions, with the conditions and that added condition as stated.
There's an ordinance if you just want to adopt the ordinance.
Yeah, we'll just, motion to approve. And aye.
Any other ayes?
Aye.
All those nays?
Nay.
Sounds like we have a 3-2. Sounds like the motion dies. So the motion is denied. This was a very tough decision, folks. It was not taken lightly at all, and it's very, very serious, very serious. With that, our next item is item 10, a presentation. We're going to break for 5 minutes, and then we'll pick up with Ronnie Tate. Okay, we are back in session. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're on item 10, presentation by Ronnie Tate, Director of Engineering and Public Utilities. Ronnie?
Good evening, gentlemen. I have just one request tonight, and it's for approval of utility capacity for Neal Place subdivision. This subdivision is located on Newnham Road. It's on the north side of Newnham Road. The company requesting is Desco Investment Company, and they are requesting capacity for Phase 1 of construction, and that request is for 24,000 gallons per day of water and wastewater capacity. Phase 1 will be 80 single-family homes, 4 bedrooms each. The total subdivision is 222 homes, 80 of them single-family, 4 bedrooms, 57 single-family, 3 bedrooms, which will be Phase 2. And Phase 3 is 85 townhomes with 3 bedrooms each. The total utility capacity for the entire project is 55,950 gallons. And the developer has complied with the appropriate sections of the water and sewer policy as documented in the board request. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
So the board, you guys are recommending approval?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, any questions? Any comments? Yeah, Commissioner Barrow first.
Ronnie, just for the benefit of the public, with all the expansion we've been doing, how is that going to factor into the amount of the request?
So, I'm sorry, I'm not following your question.
So with the request they have, how much capacity do we currently have available versus how much they're
Okay, I
requesting?
see what you're saying. So, when we take a look at these, with the complete capacity for this subdivision, along with the other ones that are in progress or that the board has approved already, and also with ones that we've had communications with people, developers from, there's a couple other parcels we've had some communications with. If you factor all of those into our capacity, and if the board were to accept all those and allocate capacity, you would still have over 300,000 gallons a day of capacity.
Thank you very much, Ronnie.
Of the 1.2 million that we have, so.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Powell?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the request.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Tate.
gentlemen.
Next, we have a short presentation by Dr. John Stover and Ursula Young.
Good evening, Chairman Hall, County Commissioners, Mr. Metzler, and County staff. Before I go into my very brief prepared remarks, I want to take this opportunity to personally thank you, as well as thank you on behalf of Rockingham County Schools students, staff, and families for your support of our schools and your realization that having a strong school system is a real important part of continued economic vitality in the county. Not only did you increase the appropriation, as Mr. Metzler noted in his remarks, which go to Rockingham County students, but also any student in Rockingham County, it follows them to charter schools that they go throughout the whole Piedmont Triad area. You also worked with us to take care of our facility needs now and in the future, as well as helped as again, Mr. Metzler noted, cover a gap in state funding. And so it is personally a pleasure for me to work with county staff and commissioners who support education as well as fiscal responsibility. So thank you. I'm here today to ask that you approve $57,500 in restricted sales tax to fund a proposed demographic and planning study. As you know, and as Ronnie, the information that the motion you just approved, we have changing demographics as well as planned housing developments and some overcrowding at certain elementary schools, as well as certain grade levels and subject levels in our middle and high schools. And these factors make it necessary to take a look at the entirety of the county so that we can get a comprehensive and accurate picture of trends and thus allowing for better planning. We are proposing to hire Cropper GIS, a highly respected consulting firm who specializes just in planning and demographic studies and has extensive experience in North Carolina as well as across the nation. We actually think this national experience and how demographic trends are changing for schools across the nation will be a real asset. Of course, once the study, if approved and the study is done, we will share the study with our board, you, county staff, as well as have a presentation, a public presentation. That is part of the proposal that we sent your way. The original proposal was for $62,500, and we negotiated them down a little bit. And so we think that after this study, it will allow us to see if we need to move further and do some redistricting. And if we do, after we get the results of the study, we plan to engage Cropper. The school board is planning to engage Cropper and pay for that with some of our local appropriation. I will entertain any questions or comments you have at this time.
Questions? Commissioner Richardson?
The liaison to the school board, and at that time, 6 or 8 years ago, there was a massive study like the Cropper organization is going to do. Have you made a comparison? I believe that was sponsored by North Carolina State University. Have you made a comparison with what they said versus what actually occurred?
Well, so we've had a couple of studies from ORAD, and what they have said is, what the last one said is that there could be possible growth 10 years from now, and we asked them to talk about some of the placements of schools and where they're needed. This study, ORAD is really limited in what they do. Cropper, as you can see from the proposal, goes much deeper into it, and they have, and we think what happened, the trends that are happening 6 or 8 years ago have completely changed now. We don't have the same number of students that are coming in per housing unit, for instance. All this has changed, and we think there's value in having a national firm with experience in North Carolina. ORAD stays particularly in North Carolina. But to answer your question, I have not gone back and looked at those past studies, the one 6 to 8 years ago, but we can certainly do that. What we did do is got a proposal from both ORAD and Cropper. Did I answer your question? That looks like I might not have.
I'm just fumbling around for a tactful way to say that I would trust you folks here in the county more than an outside organization to make these determinations.
Well, I appreciate that, and I agree. What we believe is Cropper gives an area of expertise that no one currently working in our central office has to make that informed decision. We also think it'll give a more extensive report than what we are traditionally used to getting with ORAD.
Commissioner Barrow?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Stover. So when you presented this and the school board approved it, I believe it was back in June, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to say I appreciate the fact that they voted to approve this. I appreciate the fact that you guys are taking it serious for trying to figure out where growth trends are and seeing the need to possibly redistrict, especially when we're looking at possibly building a new school. So I appreciate them. I appreciate board member Ms. Rakestraw, because I think she said based on some of the information we had, you may be able to negotiate a better rate, which it looks like you have. So I appreciate you bringing this presentation to us. and I appreciate you working with the school board to get this taken care of. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other comments, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, if there's no more comments, I'd make a motion to accept this the motion to approve this request.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. It's unanimous. Thank you, folks, for being here tonight. We appreciate that. We look forward to seeing that report from Cropper when it's done.
We estimate about 12 weeks after we get the enrollment numbers to them is the estimate, just for your information.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, the next item would have been 12, which was moved to 9B, so that takes us to new business. Is there any new business, Mr. Manager? Very good. That being said, we go to commissioner comments. Commissioner Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to everybody that came out tonight. I know it's several people that had to come back multiple times due to the rezone request. We apologize again for prolonging that. At the end of the day, what we have to consider is reasonableness and consistency when we're dealing with these rezoning issues, and they're not always as easy as we'd like them to be. I would like to ask our county attorney, if you could just look into if there's ever been a county that abolished zoning in North Carolina and what it would take to do that, because I would be in favor of abolishing zoning altogether, letting people just do their thing. But if you could look into that for me, I'd like to know that information.
I can answer that question. I think the only one that doesn't have zoning or didn't have zoning for a long time was Alamance County. It was a bad word. And Caswell, I think, for the last two in this area.
Do we know what it takes to undo a zoning ordinance?
It takes a public hearing and a new ordinance.
That's it? No, okay. All right, well, thank you for answering that question. We recognized Keith Duncan earlier, which I'm very happy that I got to be a part of that. Keith has been instrumental in helping us get the BHUC light running here in Rockingham County with his participation on the VIA board. I just wanted to give an update on some numbers that we've received. We've had over, since the BHUC light opened in mid-May, I haven't got the final numbers for the month of August yet, but we've had basically over 700 people that have walked in and received services for mental health, whether it be an emergency for self-harm or people who have issues with substance abuse. So it's been a great asset to the county, and no small part thanks to the work of Keith Duncan. And with that, I will turn it back over. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Barrow. Commissioner Richardson.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure to be able to present Order Longleaf Pine to Keith Duncan, and I've been fortunate enough and honored to serve Keith Duncan outside the boundaries of this county, and he's been an active member and a exceptional proponent of mental health activities, and has represented us well at the LME MCO level. In fact, he's been on about 5 different ones. I'm behind him. I've only been on 3. So congratulations to those people that were honored, and of course, condolences, but also worthy recognition for Mr. Pryor's family as well. We got to give away the award twice, and that was a pleasure. And I think the initiative shown by our health department with the dental and the general health initiative that they've got going. I'd also like to recognize another employee, longtime employee here at Rockingham County in our administration, Carrie Dickerson over in Department of Social Services, who's our new director. And we have tremendous confidence in her because we've been able to not just hire within, but hire a really expert person that is has great personal and leadership skills. So we welcome Carrie, and we recognize her for her existing contributions. And finally, congratulations to Houston Barrow, who was recently elected as vice chair of our regional LME MCO. So glad to have you on board. This means that he'll also get to make those trips to Asheville and be on the governing board. So the meaning for us beyond congratulations to Houston is we will have an extra body representing us and more influence on that board. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Berger.
I want to extend a congratulations to the lady that had the keys to the castle for a number of years, and that's Miss Pat Galloway on her retirement. I say keys to the castle because she was our finance director, and that's a very important position with the county. She did an excellent job, and congratulations, Miss Galloway. Tonight, we were able to honor two former commissioners for their service to the county. Also had in attendance a couple of other former commissioners in Ples McMichael and Tommy Flint. It's great to honor them. I know they were able to lay the foundation that has allowed us to grow as far as the economic development in this county now. Some of the things that were done in the past may have been some what people would consider controversial votes as far as extending water lines, extending sewer lines. But without those, we would not be in the position we're in now. So thank you for your service to Keith Duncan and W.L. Pryor. And certainly thank you to your families as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Berger. Commissioner Powell.
So tonight, we'd like to honor or recognize the elected officials we had in our presence. Reese Pirtle, our North Carolina House Representative, Jason Ramey, Superior Court Judge, Sheriff Sam Page, Bruce Noe, Eden City Council, Ples McMichael, Tommy Flint, Keith Duncan, former county commissioners, and Bob White, the school board. Would also like to also give my congratulations to Keith Duncan. I've known him for quite some time. And Keith is a very fine fellow who is a staunch supporter of our county. I would also like to, on behalf of the family here tonight for W.L. Pryor, extend our thanks for him and what he's done for the county. I knew him very well too. Got to know him the first time, worked case for him when I was a detective. And he was a sight, and I really enjoyed his company, and he certainly will be missed. But I want to take just a minute to mention one other thing, that the month of September is Suicide Awareness Month. And that has a special meaning for me because at the age of 5 in 1970, my mother committed suicide. I can tell you that it will alter a child's life and a family's life. So I would ask that if you're feeling like your world is crumbling around you, we have resources here in this county that can help you. We have the Suicide Prevention Hotline on our website. And we have the BHUC, the Behavioral Health Urgent Care Center that Commissioner Barrow spoke of. Those folks down there are certainly very capable of helping you with any problem that you may have. What we don't want to happen is for you to keep that bottled up inside of you. Get somewhere and talk to people if you're feeling like you need some help. And if someone reaches out to you, don't brush them off. They have real problems that they need real solutions to. And take the time to help them get to somebody that can help them sort out their problems. And we certainly don't want to lose anyone. It's devastating for a family. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Well, it was a wonderful meeting early on. We had some tough decisions later on, but that's what it's about. So we appreciate all those who came out tonight to participate. I thought it was interesting to see the people that did come to honor W.L. and Keith as well. A lot of leaders, a lot of former elected officials as well. So we appreciate all that. That tells you a lot about the character of these two individuals. So thank you, everyone who came out and attended tonight. With that, I'll say our next meeting is September 16th at 6:30 here in the Governmental Center. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.